Good afternoon, everyone. You're very welcome to this session on the Masters and Postgraduate Diploma and Postgraduate Certificate in Special and Additional Learning Needs. My name is Dr. Deirdre MacIntyre, and I'm the academic advisor for this program. And the idea here this evening is to give you some pointers and give you some academic support and advice on how to get the most out of your module. We're very conscious that many of you may have been away from your studies for a while, and it's always good to have a little bit of support and advice to help you get oriented and make the most of your time, studying this module. So just to give you a sense of the team here to support you, I'm here as academic advisor, and I'm also Dean, and I'm the Dean of Research and Academic Affairs with ISEP Europe. David Barra, as you know, is a link tutor for the programme, and Dr. Rita Karen is a link tutor for ISEP Europe. And I'm here with my colleague, Chloe O'Rourke, this evening to guide you through this advice session on academic skills for the programme. So just to give you an overview then of what we're hoping to cover this evening. The idea is to give you some very concrete, solid advice and pointers, as we mentioned, about getting the most out of your module. We'll be leading you through, tips for learning activities, giving you some very concrete pointers on how to approach your assignment. Of course, this is how you're going to be assessed for the program. Looking at issues to do with academic integrity and referencing, resources and all the different types of supports that you can get, some of which are already up there in the homepage, and then we'll be offering a webinar on that coming up in a couple of weeks, and also all the resources that are there to support you in sort of writing and referencing, etc., from the University of East London online. You will be looking too at the UEL library, and we'll be looking at different support, contact information and resources, and then we'll be talking about student representation and taking any questions you may have. So that's really our agenda for this evening. So in terms of how do you get the most out of your module, the whole thing here is just not to be passive, but to set yourself up for success. So what we would say is begin by exploring all the resources and supports on your home page within Moodle, within the learning management system, where you'll find all of the module content, all sorts of guides, videos, which will sort of support you in navigating the content, planning for your assignment, finding out who can help you with various types of queries. So when you go in there, you'll find your module guide. You'll also find the student handbook, which is sort of all the general program information. There's a whole suite of resources in there, as well as the module content. So the first thing we would do, advise you to do, and you've probably already done this, is to spend some time going through all these different resources, getting to know what's there, familiarizing yourself with the system and with how it works. I'd also advise you to log in to UEL Direct, ensure that you have library access. If there are any glitches with that, get in touch with us. We'll liaise with our colleagues in UEL and we'll get you set up as soon as possible. As I mentioned, it's important to read the module guide and participant handbook. I would advise that, particularly in the beginning, you would print off these. But that's just me. I'm a bit of a Luddite. Maybe you want to just maybe save on paper and just save it to your desktop, but which or whether, just make sure that you have ready access to this kind of mission critical information. Within Moodle 2, you'll see critical dates, you'll see contact information for your tutor, and you'll see all of the sort of key different sites of interaction, which include the different forums for your learning activities, but also forums, a social forum and technical forums, so that you can reach out and get help with any particular aspect that you need. we would advise you to engage with your tutors and your classmates as early and as often as possible. Because really, with a program like this, what you put into it is exactly what you're going to get out of it. So the more that you have engaged with your classmates and your tutors, the more you're going to learn, the more others are going to learn too. So it's a whole about building a community of learning. And your tutors and the module leaders are very well able and very willing to that you'll find that they get back to you, that they want to support you, that they'll answer any questions you have as quickly as they can. So contribute to those discussions and ask whatever questions you have, because one of the key things is that whatever questions you have, you can be sure that others will have them as well. And so it can be learning for all of you if you pose a particular question. Contribute your ideas and your perspective too, because on a program like this, what's really particularly rich is the fact that we get the opportunity not just to think about something ourselves from our own context and from our own perspective, but also we get the opportunity to learn from the varied experiences and perspectives of others. And that's what's particularly enriching. So do read the contributions of your classmates, comment on them, give them your take, respond and engage and get into conversational collaborative mode. And that will ensure that it becomes a really rich, valuable learning experience for everyone. Get reading, get researching and reflecting. And what do I mean by that? Well, I don't think it's ever too early to start thinking about your assignment. But before you even do that, approach your reading of the module content or of resources like a journal article with a kind of purpose in mind. It's helpful to sort of have a learning intention. You know, I want to get the most out of this article. I want to find out, what is in this article that I don't already know. I would like to discover from this article, what is interesting, what's their take on pupil voice. So what I'm saying is, if you approach a piece of reading with a more purposeful, intentional kind of focus, that it tends to mean that you get more out of it. You can sometimes, or maybe there's different strategies for this. Sometimes you can read something over once and then go back and maybe with a highlighter, with a pen, and maybe then write down some of your thoughts afterwards. Also take a sort of a reflective approach. So as well as reading in an intentional, focused kind of way, you may also then put it down, step away, and just think, what did I learn? Reflect on what has it taught you? What questions has it raised? How does it connect with what you've learned, with what you're learning, with your own experiences as an educator or as somebody learning about this area? So you'll see what I'm saying here. I'm encouraging you to engage with what you're learning in a fairly active way, to think about it, to reflect, to engage, to collaborate, to converse, to ask questions. So it's not about being a passive recipient. It's about very much making this learning your own, integrating it with your own experience, your knowledge, your perspectives, and that of others. And also thinking, as we say here on this program, not just about current practice or best practice, but next practice. What are the implications of what you're learning for your own context, for your learners, for the whole field of inclusion and special educational needs? So at a practical level, though, it's really important to just know what's coming down the tracks. So plan your assignment, know the critical dates and deadlines, have a little calendar up wherever you do your study or online, whatever way you choose to works for you. Just know what you have to do when, know what the deliverables are, and work backwards and plan your study schedule based on that. So doing those things early on in the term will set you up for success and help you get the most out of your module, and will ensure that you're not under undue pressure at the end, because it is designed to be doable. It's designed to be very achievable, though it's not undemanding. but it is designed to be achievable. But again, it's about pacing yourself and making sure that you know what's expected and have planned it well. In terms of the discussions and the learning activities, you will be aware that for each of the 4 units of content, there are 2 learning activities. These encourage you to reflect and to think about and to share your experiences and to answer questions that are relevant to each specific sort of area of specialism and different themes and topics that we cover in the units. So these are also an opportunity to develop skills for your written assignment. So they kind of are scaffolded and build towards the assignment at the end. What we want to see there is that you're showing evidence of understanding what we're talking about here in this particular unit. Ideally, you don't have to write a huge, big, long piece, but we want you to be clear in expressing your ideas and concise. But this is not an essay. This isn't an academic piece, though it does give you an opportunity to kind of do a bit of practice in that line. But it's really about you thinking, you engaging, and getting a little bit of practice in. What we like to see is that you're showing us that you can think, that you can analyze, that you can critique, that you can think about solutions to issues that come up in your own professional context. And also the other thing we want to see is a sort of a supportive collegiate response to your classmates. So that's what we're looking for in terms of those learning activities. And while you are not marked on them, it's more about formative assessment. The summative piece comes at the end. That's what you're marked on, is your written assignment. So while you're not graded on this, it's a very good indicator and a very good preparation for your terminal assignment. So in terms of that written assignment then, at this stage, we would be advising that you get familiar with it, that you have a look at the assignment briefing documents. Depending upon which module you've started with, the assignment will differ, but the shape of them is more or less the same. So each module has a portfolio assignment of 5,000 words in total. And that's broken down into 2 parts, 2,500 words in each part. The first part tends to be a little bit more theoretical, and the second part tends to be a bit more applied and practical. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to kind of assess both dimensions, I suppose, of your practice and of your learning. It's really important not to just look at the title or the headline and get writing, but to take your time and actually read what's expected in detail. So clarify the core question. Do you understand what you're being asked to do? Read the assignment brief in detail. And I would advise you to print it off or to save it, to have a look at it, because each brief, there's assignment briefing for part 1 and part 2. We do give really, really clear guidance. And there is a structure. There's a structure which is not mandatory. You can choose to depart from it. But if you follow the structure, it does provide a really good, strong kind of skeletal outline. And we even tell you what should go in each section. And we advise to kind of, we also explain what we're looking for in terms of the learning outcomes, because the most important thing is that you understand what's being assessed. So it's not just that we want you to answer the question, it's really that in this assignment, your job is to demonstrate that you have achieved the learning outcomes for the module. So that might be that you're able to use the literature in a specific area to demonstrate your understanding of a particular topic, that you're able to analyze and critique research in a specific area, etc. So that you're demonstrating understanding of theories and models, for example, of reading and literacy. So read the learning outcomes and be clear that that's what you're being assessed on, not just, so your task is not just to write to a title, but to demonstrate the achievement of the learning outcomes. Once you understand that, then you've kind of cracked it. You know what the task is. And then we've provided you with a very clear map of how to demonstrate and complete that task. So that's what we're looking for in terms of the learning outcomes there, demonstrating systematic understanding, critical awareness, reflection, analysis, etc. So this is mission critical, understanding what's expected and then being able to deliver that. We would say plan your study and your research, read the content, the core texts and beyond. You don't have to read every line. You do need to read judiciously. So you can be selective. And if you are looking for guidance, we have core texts there. And even those core texts, you're not expected to read from A to Z. But if you're looking for specific guidance on where to put the bulk of your effort, do consult and ask your tutor, and they will be very ready and willing to advise on that. Core texts and articles and any of the recommended readings, they're the really important resources, as well as the core content that's up in Moodle, as well as, you know, the different videos and things that are there. They're all really important resources for your learning. When you're writing your assignment, just remember that websites come with a warning. Actually, it was interesting. I've noticed that when I'm Googling or reading stuff online on my phone in the evenings, and I'm an awful devil for going online and looking up articles and things, as if I don't have enough of it during the day. But I now notice that certain things say trusted content or peer-reviewed content or whatever. So I'm noticing more and more that even when I'm Googling, that you know, things are being graded or categorized in terms of their level of trust. And it's the same, it's really what we're saying to you is something similar. Just be aware that certain websites are not as reliable a resource as others. So just, you know, be very, very careful to check out the currency and trustworthiness of your sources, particularly online sources and particularly websites. Keep track of your sources and of your references for your reference list. And if you do that as you go, rather than trying to backwards engineer it at the end, you can save yourself an awful lot of time. I tell you, I've often made that mistake. So it's a good one to avoid. Okay, so in terms of writing your assignment, one of the things is that we would suggest that it's quite important to begin with an essay outline. Some people do this in lots of different ways, but we have a suggested outline there. That's there for your guidance. It makes it easy for you. You can, by all means, use an alternative structure, but you know, it does make it easier to use the one that's provided. Group your ideas into themes and then paragraphs. So be systematic and organized in your thinking. Show a flow and a logic to the development of your ideas and your lines of argument. We want to see that your arguments are organized in a logical, sequenced kind of way. We also want you to show us, use signposts and explanation. So if you're moving from one topic to another within the body of your assignment, it's a good idea to use different headers so that I know that now there's a transition to, as the reader, to another topic. Provide explanations for key terms or for ideas so that you show us that you understand them. Remember, though, all the time to reference and cite sources for all of your, you know, for all of the ideas that aren't your own, or else say that they're your own. So you can, you know, say that such and such is, you know, this is your experience of such and such, or you have found X, Y, and Z in your work, or that such and such is a very common disorder or whatever. But if you're saying something that, you know, you're presenting as a fact or basis for an argument, you do need to provide a source for that, a reference. And it's important that you critically evaluate and evidence all your ideas, support your conclusions, etc. And the way I explain this to it is, remember, is to think about yourself as kind of a Perry Mason or a lawyer in a courtroom. So it's not enough just to put something forward or to say something. You actually have to prove it. So this is the difference between an opinion piece and an academic assignment. You've got to provide evidence. You've got to provide a rationale. You've got to provide sources and citations for all of your ideas, for all your lines of argument. And then when you are citing, it's important that you do so in the accurate and acceptable format, which for UEL, there's lots of different referencing styles. You may have used other ones in your previous studies, but we're allergic to footnotes and APA. What we use here is Harvard style referencing. So there's lots of different resources up online. There's Cite 'em Right, which you can access through your UEL login. And you can also see that there's a short referencing guide up in Moodle, which gives you exemplars of Harvard referencing style for the most common types of sources. So, and again, your tutors will help you, but I would say that, you know, just explore all the resources and do a bit of practice online. When you're writing your assignment, and I know you're not at that stage yet, you're just thinking about it, but remember that it'll take a couple of drafts. So don't expect that it'll be just one go and that'll be it. No, it's going to be a draft and a redraft and an edit and a re-edit and a proofing. And then maybe at the end, getting a friendly critic, a friend or family member of your family or a pal to go through it and sort of say, actually, that makes sense, or that bit is unclear, or whatever. Don't underestimate the value of a friendly critic. We would recommend too that you would do it early enough so that you can submit a draft through Turnitin and check the similarity score. That will pick up if you've referenced incorrectly, or sometimes what people do is when they're doing an early draft, they do a bit of cutting and pasting from articles and they forget to attribute a source, so that you can end up inadvertently breaching academic integrity rules by not taking care to, you know, track your use of other people's sources or information accurately enough. Tutors will take drafts, but this is something which they do out of the goodness of their hearts. So it's not mandatory. Okay, so just to understand, maybe put this in context. So different tutors will have slightly different timings. So depending upon the module you're in, they may accept them earlier or later. So check with your tutor. Will they accept a full draft, or will they accept a piece, and when will they, and when's the deadline? Because oftentimes they won't accept them straight up against the deadline for submission. There just won't be enough time to turn it around and give you feedback. So the other thing is that there is all these resources here are really good for getting you into the sort of academic writing vocabulary. There's a whole phrase bank there available online. That's a classic resource, the academic phrase book from Manchester University. There's also, that's a nice resource that I like, from Edinburgh University. And it's about, you know, postgraduate essay writing and shows you how to build critical arguments, etc. And that other resource mentioned there is provided by the UEL academic tutors. There's a suite of resources there. And you can also book an academic tutor support session with the academic writing team in UEL. And that means they have different slots. You can go online and book a half-hour slot. And what we would suggest that you do is, if there's a particular issue that you want support with, bring along a sample of your writing, or maybe it might be a sample of referencing or a paragraph or two or an essay plan, and say, what do you think? So get very focused, an opportunity for you to get very focused help with specific questions or issues that you might have, or areas in terms of academic writing skills, or, building arguments, critical analysis, whatever it is. And they will explain to you in a very focused way and very tailored and individual way what would help. I've stolen my own thunder here. I moved ahead, but this is the resource that I'm talking about. These are the academic tutors of writing tutoring support team in UEL, and they have sessions on and interactive workshops on study skills and the drop-in sessions with academic tutors where you can actually so there are some drop-in sessions, but you can book, as I said, an individual half-hour session by emailing that email address down there. And it's really, really helpful, particularly if this may be your second module and maybe your tutor on a previous assignment highlighted an area where you maybe need to strengthen or improve, or if you're new, this is your first module and you're feeling a little bit uncertain about some specific aspect of academic writing. They, booking a session with them will be invaluable and will answer a lot of needs. Academic referencing, then, this is something that if you haven't written an assignment for a while, you may need a little bit of refreshing. It's really important to be accurate in your referencing to avoid breaching academic regulations. And usually that's done out of sort of just naivety or lack of experience or lack of proofing or inadvertent cutting and pasting. But it's a very, very serious offence from the university's point of view. So poor academic content is, academic conduct. It includes incomplete or incorrect citations, over-reliance on sources. So source dependency, using one source again and again and again and again, that's seen as academically lazy. Too many direct quotes, another kind of inappropriate approach when it comes to writing an academic. So if it's seen as, lacking rigor, as taking the easy route. So when you see an essay where they have big chunks of, paragraphs quoted, or an over-reliance, say, on just quoting something rather than putting it in your own words. If you put it in your own words, I know you really understand it. Whereas if you chunk it and just copy and paste and put it in quotation marks, well, then that's just borrowed words. But turning it into your own language, putting it in your own words, that proves that you have integrated it with your own understanding and made it your own. So practice paraphrasing, and that's something that's quite important as you're getting to grips with academic writing. Plagiarism is when we're talking about is unattributed information copied from other sources, missing citations, inadequate paraphrasing, using works submitted elsewhere. So self-plagiarism is something that I sort of wasn't around in my day, but essentially what it means is that you can't use work that you submitted for another assignment or to another university in a new submission. So self-plagiarism is a thing. It's got to be a fresh piece of work. Now you can, again, rework, reword, etc., but you have to rewrite it substantially. So just something to be aware, because sometimes people will maybe reuse something they've submitted in a previous on a previous course, and again, it's really, being just unaware. It's usually inadvertent and unintentional, but it's quite important for your own achievement and for the quality of your own learning experience that you avoid these pitfalls. That's why we're mentioning them, not to frighten you. And indeed, the breaches of academic integrity are few and far between, luckily, because once you have the guidance and you know what's expected, it's relatively straightforward to follow the rules. So practice referencing, check and cross-check, and use Cite 'em Right, that resource there. And you log in through UEL using your username and password. And then there's a YouTube guide up there as well on how to, use Cite 'em Right and how to actually check your Harvard references, etc. So there's lots of resources. Just be sure to engage with them and put a little bit of effort into learning how to reference. It's a bit like a grammar, so it's quite structural. And once you practice a few times, so spend 10 minutes practicing how to write or how to reference an article, how to reference a book, how to reference a website, how to whatever, and then or reference something with several editors. Once you've done each of those things a few times, it'll be stuck in the brain. Okay, so then when it comes to presenting and submitting, a few very concrete tips that sound like they don't matter, but they do. There's a chunk of kind of there's a chunk of work needs to go into presenting your thoughts and into presenting your assignment to make it worthy of all the effort that you put in. And then sort of for administrative purposes, we ask you to include the page number and your student number on every page so that we can actually track it. There's also a recommended font, and your submission on Turnitin should remain anonymous. It's important not to put your name because the submissions are supposed to be anonymized for, I suppose, equality reasons as well. And so bias doesn't enter into marking. Student number should appear in the footer. It's important to stick to the word count. You can go, so 10%, higher or lower than the 2,500 words per section is fine. Arjun, I'm just seeing your question there. Let me just see. You're asking about all of the questions. Let me just see that. One of your assignment questions, all the theories, most of it has to be written from standard theories. Will come under copying. Again, so you don't have to go into a vast amount of detail about the theory, right? So it would be enough to give me, I don't know what the phonological theory. So, explain what this means. But again, sit down and spend a little bit of time trying to condense it, trying to put it in your own words. And you might have one quote, small quote about that. But, what I would say is it's part of it is a discipline. You're learning here how to condense, how to take a big body of knowledge and distill it so that you're giving me the important key bits, not the whole thing. So that's part of the dilemma here. You can always talk to your tutor and say, how much detail do you want here? How many theories do I need to discuss? Do I need to discuss A to Z, or can I choose the 3 most prominent ones or whatever? So if in doubt, reach out and get clarity from your tutor. I hope that helps. Yolanda's asking about a UEL username. Maybe we can check that out, Chloe, and get back to you.
Yeah, I can reach out to Yolanda about that after the call.
So sticking to the word count is important. Carefully spell checking and proofreading is really important. You'd be surprised. And the issue here is if you leave it until the last minute. So the papers that aren't well spell checked, the papers that are let down on presentation, the papers where it's obvious people haven't proofed properly is where they've been up to the wire. Okay, so pull back. And I would always say, whenever I have a deadline or a submission, I try and give myself 24, 48 hours. And I tell myself the deadline is actually, Wednesday when it's Friday. And then I have a chance of maybe not crashing into the deadline hard, So just make it a little bit easier on yourself. So as I said, early submission will help catch any issues with high similarity scores as well, because you'll have the chance to go through, submit it, to turn it in and, see if there's anything you need to fix. So the UEL library is a fantastic resource. We have, there's a couple of YouTube videos there on which guide you on navigating the library and showing you how to find whatever you're looking for. The academic services librarian for the School of Education is Win Pang, and that is her email address, and she is fantastic. She's very supportive, really helpful. And if you are looking for a specific article, specific book, or guidance on where to find particular types of information or articles, she will be really willing to help. So just reach out to her. And if sometimes you might need to maybe have a phone call or whatever, she's also very accessible. So we're here to support you in many, many different ways throughout your studies here on the program. That's the number there for the academic advisor, and the academic advisor email that will reach myself and Sophia and also Chloe and Yao. And Arjun is saying that okay. Yes, we'll figure that one out for you.
Yeah,
Arjun, we'll get you sorted. We're taking note of anybody's admin issues, and we'll follow up with you individually afterwards. But thank you for highlighting it. It's good. It's good that we can sort it out. So there's also ISEP Europe IT support, because we provide the VLE for this program, and that links with UEL, the UEL IT service desk. So for UEL resources, it's the UEL IT service desk, but we can liaise with the admin team in UEL around usernames and passwords and highlight it and try and get it sorted for you. There's the UEL student hub, but for most, and there's library support and admin support from both sides of the house. But for most of your issues day to day around teaching and learning and around your assignment, around your content, around learning resources, it will be your the module lead, your module tutor, who will be there to support you and who will be able to help and advise and assist you and answer any questions that you might have. So if that's for module or assignment specific questions, you can contact your tutor directly via Moodle, within the VLE, or by email, which is also up there in Moodle, and you'll find our details. So that's really the full range of supports. Just to say to you, we are here as well. The academic advisor team is here all the time, so that if you want to have an individual session at any point, around what module should I choose next, or I'm thinking of maybe doing the research module, and will this type of research be suitable? I'm there. I'm always ready and willing to arrange a Zoom call or a chat. And indeed, I think you'll find that with your other tutors, that if you need to have a one-on-one with someone like David, or any of the tutors, that they are more than willing to do that. We will also be arranging a session with the academic writing skills team in UEL. And that is our colleague, Johannes Miranda, and that session will be happening in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. And that's an opportunity for you to learn more about the nitty-gritty of academic writing skills, how to reference, how to build an argument, what do we mean by critical analysis, how do you write a conclusion, how do you write an introduction. So all the nuts and bolts of the really detailed stuff about academic writing skills at postgraduate level. We will go into that in an awful lot of detail, and you won't be left wondering at the end of that session. So I would encourage you to come along to that. This particular slide here is about your opportunity to have a say, your opportunity to make a difference, to help us improve the program at all stages. We're interested in inviting any of you that might be interested to be a student rep for the program. We are also interested in getting your view on a regular basis through the surveys that are, we ask you to complete midway through each module and also at the end of each module. And we just encourage you to complete those surveys. They take a few minutes. They're very short, but very important. And we like to hear about your experiences, get your evaluation, because it's through your feedback that we can improve teaching and learning, how we support you, and the quality of your learning experience. So as I say, if you are interested in being a student rep, please do let us know, and we'd be delighted to have you. So I think that's more or less my session this evening. I'd just like to invite you, if anyone has any questions, to let us know, and we'll be happy to take them. So Arjun, we will certainly deal with that issue for you, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, and Chloe will follow up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And as I say, if anybody has any, so for Arjun, if it's a query related to the assignment, I'd encourage you to, first of all, to come along to the session with Johannes. And secondly, to first of all, ask your tutor, and then come to me if if it's a specific assignment related issue, I'd encourage you first of all to ask your tutor. Can I ask which module you're on? I'll put my email address in here though, if you are. Oh, yeah. So for that, I should have realized with all the models. Yeah, I know the assignment. It's not an easy assignment, Arjun, right? So, reach out to Shannon and just get very specific advice from her. Okay. So with that, what she wants to, and sort of look carefully at the learning outcomes, and the thinking on dyslexia has moved on a lot. And there's a new pathos definition of dyslexia, which is a really interesting one, because I think what it does is it brings together all the threads of explanation. But talk to Shannon about it. Ask her. I mean, I'm happy to take an email from you, but I'm not the dyslexia expert, do you know? I hope that helps. Okay, Yolanda, do you have any questions or anything further from you, Arjun? Okay, if there aren't any further questions, nothing remains for myself and Chloe but to thank you for coming along this evening. And I'm aware that several people emailed us in, and we're unable to make the session, and for that reason we're recording it, and we hope that if you're listening back that you'll gain some benefit from it. We would encourage you to come along to the next session. You'll be emailed about the academic writing skills webinar with Johannes Miranda, our UEL colleague. And this is a session that people feel, get a lot out of, and I know it's very valuable. So thank you very, very much for being here this evening. Do reach out, keep in touch with the Academic Advisor Service and with myself and Chloe. Get in touch and please reach out if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to support you. And if at any stage you need any assistance or advice, please get in touch and we'll be happy to arrange an individual session. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, everyone.